Why is personal development important? I think this is a really funny topic to kind of mention because it's so different for everyone and everyone almost starts at a different position. What I'm going to do is kind of share my take on it, why I think it's important, but hopefully also explain the thinking behind it. And if you agree, great. If you don't, please kind of comment as well. And actually, what I want to do is just kind of sow the seeds of something to think about, but I'll also explain why we do certain things, the way we do it on the roadmap and that kind of thing as well. So for me, when we start our careers, we generally start at the bottom of the ladder. So you come out of school or university or whichever, and you actually kind of get your first job. And there's a mountain to climb, hence it's a triangle, but you get the point. It's meant to be a mountain, put some snow on it. The whole point, there's a mountain to climb for actually your personal development career to kind of get to the top. If you want to get to the top, a lot of people don't. And again, it depends how you define the top, but you get my point for the sake of this. And what's quite interesting is that for me, everyone has a skill set. And for me, I've broken it down into 8 different areas that everyone has in terms of your business or career. These include your technical and industry knowledge. So when you first come out of school or university, you might not know much about renewable energy or clean tech or copywriting or marketing or food or fashion or whichever, but that's cool. But basically, as you go through your career and you spend more time working with suppliers and buyers and how the whole dynamic, that kind of thing works for your particular industry, that's something that grows over time that you don't necessarily have at the start of your career. Next, you have all of your personal skills. So this is your ability to work hard, your ability to communicate and that kind of thing. Next, we have your personal brand, which is something that we teach on the course. And actually, Amelia Sordell, who very kindly spoke at the Fabric Academy last week, did an excellent job of that. Actually, that is essentially what people see and think of you, how they view you in the workplace. And actually, there are things you can do to help that. And I'm going to kind of talk about why that's kind of important. Next, we move on to more kind of business strategy stuff that actually, when you come out of school or uni, you're basically training up to do your technical skills. You might be trained to be a solicitor, for instance. But then the further you go through your career, at some point you're generally asked to start to write a strategy for a business, that kind of thing. That rolls into marketing, where basically a lot of people actually mistake marketing for just being a proactive stuff, which is called tactics, which is to your live streams, podcasts, social posts, TikToks, whatever. But actually, so much of marketing is actually about understanding the customer, understanding how you position your product. But there's a really important thing and piece there which makes a massive difference to the success of your business, especially a small business. But most people are never trained to do that, and that's why it's kind of really important. After that, you then go into sales, which people kind of get sales. Nobody really wants to do it, but it's kind of important. Leadership is the next really big one that you get so many kind of inspirational talks and gifts and whatever, where people want to be a good leader and look after their team. And that is important. There are things that you can learn to do, even just to, remind you of, good practice and that kind of thing. But it is always different when actually it's on your head to deliver it. And last but not least, there's also finance. So this is common when I speak to entrepreneurs and stuff on the podcast. One of the things that almost everyone says, they wish they actually improved their financial intelligence sooner, because actually the more you understand how to do your taxes, what gross profit is, what net profit is. Prime example, just last night there was the Northeast top 50 growing companies within the region. It was a big deal. Their top guy, I think, was 91%, then it was like mid 40s, then 20s, whatever. But it's the basic kind of acknowledgement that revenue, it's important, but it doesn't really matter. You can do $1 billion or £1 billion in revenue and still lose money. But the point is, it's really just making sure you kind of learn the kind of craft and what is it we're trying to do. And basically, when you start your career, so at the top of your career, it's the same kind of thing where basically you kind of go through and you build up those skills over time. But when you start your career, you might be really skilled at communicating, you haven't got any industry knowledge, and you're good at sales because you're good at talking to people. But the thing is, because you're not that valuable in a way, because you only have a low-level skill set in certain areas, it's hard to add value in your career in a way that you basically have to learn your craft. You have to learn what makes you good. As you kind of go through your career, the same kind of 8 or so areas actually still exist, and they're things that you can really, kind of work on. And as you kind of get mid-level, one of the things that often happens is that, you actually get, go back to orange, you get a broad grounding across a few, but often if you are a mechanical engineer, which I am, or you could be an employment solicitor, or you could be an accountant, or you could be a welder, you often get very technically good in one area, and then that's almost how you build your career. That's kind of what you're looking to do, and actually that's what people pay you to do. But things, if you want to work on your personal development and really kind of get to the top, the truth is really good entrepreneurs and leaders and people in senior positions have a broad range of skills across all of the areas. So they have good technical knowledge, they understand the industry, they understand what works, how it works. Actually, they've hopefully got a good reputation that people like them and trust them. They understand sales, they understand strategy, they understand marketing. But basically, when you have a good, broad skill set across a range of areas, it just makes you massively more valuable, both to an organization, but then likewise, if you ever start your own business, having that broad range of skills, even if it's, say, at a 7 or 8 out of 10 level, not a 10 out of 10 level. So, prime example, so you could have a brilliant, exceptional marketer that is the best at what they do in the world, and they're a 10 out of 10, and they put all of their focus all day, every day into marketing, and they get paid to do that. But actually, in some ways, they might be less valuable to the wider organization than, say, the CEO, who might understand marketing, but he doesn't need to know the exact detail. So the CEO is probably, say, a 7 or 8 out of 10 across all of the categories compared to being exceptionally good at one of them. And the point is, and what we kind of teach on the roadmap, is actually the whole breadth of skills to really help you be kind of successful. But the whole point is, and what I wanted to really kind of talk about, so we flip over, is across those 8 areas, what we're essentially looking to do with the roadmap is help upskill people to basically get better at what you do. And one of the really things, if many of you will know what compounding interest is, and basically if you don't, essentially if you make lots of small improvements, it's how they all multiply each other. A really interesting talk I watched on the Stephen Bartlett podcast with Sir Dave Brailsford yesterday, and he was talking about marginal gains. It's the ability to work and interact and make lots of small improvements and how it kind of works. And just as some quick maths to kind of prove this, and it's the whole premise behind everything that I do. So you've got 8 areas that I think you really, to be successful, would benefit from kind of developing. If you get 10% better across all areas, so this is a case of, you might have a specialism, but actually you don't really know much, say, about finance. But if you can get a little bit better across all of those areas, you actually become twice as valuable, because essentially you have 1.1 times 1.1 across, and basically that means you become twice as valuable to an organization. And this is true, the more and the better your breadth of skill set, the better you are. And then when it comes to going for careers and development and actually your knowledge and how it works, what you'll do is that the more you understand, say, about finance or marketing, you'll actually be able to identify ways to use techniques from over here, and actually will make you a lot better. It's part of what I did with the roadmap. I'd never seen anyone actually take the world's best sales strategies and use them in personal branding or marketing, or even in like business strategy, and really piece it together. But what's also interesting, if you can get 20% better, so if you're honest with yourself, how much do you actually know about sales? You might know the basics that you want to talk to people, but do you really understand a sales pipeline, the things you can use, the techniques, that kind of thing? Maybe not. But if you can get 20% better across all those different areas, that's kind of what we talk about on the roadmap. You actually, and do the maths, so it's 1.2, 8 times. You become twice as valuable. But interestingly enough, if you get 30% better, and that's 30% better, which I guarantee we can do, unless you're already incredible, you can actually become 8 times, 8x more valuable to your organization than if you don't. And basically what you're then doing is, if we go back to the chart, you've got that nice broad breadth of skill set that you can really help develop and grow. And actually it's your ability to wear more hats and think outside the box and outcompete your competition, that we don't have to actually take you, I don't think a 30% improvement for something that, especially as you go through your career, you might never have been taught before, is unrealistic. But if we can do it across a range of areas, and you can do the kind of maths on it, you do become a lot more valuable. And it's that value that people will either pay you for, or it will help your business become a lot kind of more successful. And just as a prime example, this is a stat from tennis. So Novak Djokovic, obviously very topical at the moment to do with his COVID vaccine with Australia. But the difference between, I think he was world like 64 and world number 1, was a difference between, I think it's 50% of getting this first serve in and then 54%. But that 4% meant, especially in tennis, he just won those extra games. And it took him all the way through to being the best in the world from a 4% increase. What we're talking about here is fairly kind of generalist, but the point is it is possible, it is doable. It's the reason why on the roadmap we actually cover all of the areas. This is why personal development is really important, and it's hopefully kind of worth your time. Cool. If you have any questions, please feel free to kind of reach out. If you see this after today on YouTube or anything, please feel free to kind of reach out or subscribe. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to kind of get in touch.